Welcome, brothers and sisters. This is a Big Bible study. We're going to jump right into it. Lesson is called Divorce and the Law of Moses. So we're gonna get right into this, man. Let me get this here right quick. No, wait a minute. So here we go. There you go. You can just see me, right? And
Yeah, you
then
clear. I
okay,
can
and
see you and hear you.
yeah, and if you talk, then it'll just show you. So all right. So this lesson is divorce and the law of Moses. And the reason why this lesson came up, praise the Most High, is that I recently had a conversation with a friend of mine. I know you think I forgot or I just kind of left you on the cliffhanger, but I didn't. I actually started going to the scriptures because we had a discussion and I wanted to make sure that my understanding was correct and what I was telling you was correct. And for many of you who study the Bible, you know, once you start studying on one subject, it's a rabbit hole, so to speak, and you start going into different things and connecting different things, and then I have to go back and check my understanding. Say, okay, well, I think this is correct. I think it's this. I think it's that. So let me go confirm this and confirm that. And going down that hole or going into the scriptures, I started to see some things that I think will put things in a better perspective, in a truer light, because there was a commonality. I had this conversation with different people
Mm,
and about divorce. And some people are on the side of no divorce whatsoever. It's unlawful. And Jesus said, don't get divorced. And then and some people say, well, no, you know, you can get divorced for certain reasons. And so we're going to go into it because what I notice and what I see is that people are, I think, confusing the law of Moses with the law of God, or seeing things from a perspective, seeing that these are two different things. So we want to go into it. We're going to look into it, see what the scriptures say. We're going to examine it. So it's good. This is going to be a lot of scriptures. So please just follow along, right? Take notes. Go back and study this. Don't take my word for it. Whatever the case is, don't take my word for it. Go back and study this stuff and examine this information. So I want to start in the book of Mark. Now we're going to read this in Matthew as well, but I'm going to start in Mark because I want to start with, I think, what may be some confusion with this particular understanding with these verses. So I'm going to share my screen here.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna pull mine up, but yeah, if you share it, it'll probably be even a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen here. Let me know when you can see that.
Yep,
All right, you
right
got it.
there.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So we're gonna read, if you would, we're gonna read Mark chapter 10, verses 1 through 12.
All right, I got you. It says Mark chapter 10, starting at verse 1. And he arose from thence and cometh into the coast of Judea by the farther side of Jordan. And the people resort unto him again, and as he was wont, he taught them again. Verse 2. And the Pharisees came to him and asked him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife, tempting him? And he answered and said unto them, what did Moses command you? Verse 4. And they said, Moses suffered to write a bill of divorcement and to put her away. And Christ answered and said unto them, for the hardness of your heart, he wrote you this precept. Verse 6. But from the beginning of the creation of God, made them male and female. Verse 7. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. Verse 8. And they twain shall be one flesh. So then they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. And in the house of his disciples, asked him again, and in his house his disciples asked him again the same matter. And he said unto them,
Whoso
whosoever shall put away his wife and marry another committeth adultery against her. And if a woman shall put away her husband and be married to another, she committeth adultery.
All right. So, and we're gonna see a slight difference in Mark and Matthew, right? But let's break this down a couple verses. So one, I'm gonna look at verse 2. It says, and the Pharisees came to him and asked him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife, tempting him? Now, how is this question tempting? So see, a lot of times we read these scriptures and we just kind of assume things. We don't really examine things, stuff that don't really make sense. We kind of gloss over it and just don't really give it a second look because it's just confusing. So, but we got to make sense of this. What does it mean tempting him? Why is this a tempting question? Is it lawful to put away your wife? Right now, his response was in verse 3 says, "What did Moses command you?" Now, I want to clarify something right off the bat. When it says Moses, Moses is synonymous with the law. So when it says, "What did Moses command you?" you could also understand that as saying, "What did the law command you?" And I'm gonna demonstrate this in the scriptures, right? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna jump over to Luke 16 to show you that how these two terms, the law and Moses, are synonymous. So we're gonna go to Luke 16 and we're gonna read verse 29. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, Luke 16 and 29.
Luke 16 and 29. Abraham said unto him, they have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them.
Okay, so Moses and the prophets could also be understood as the law and the prophets, right? Christ says, think that I come not to destroy the law or the prophets, which is the Torah, is the law, the prophets, the Tanakh. So the law and the prophets are the Torah and Tanakh, or Moses and the prophets. So you see how this term Moses or the name Moses is being used interchangeably with the law or synonymous with the law. But let's go to one more. Let's go back to Mark real quick. We're gonna go to Mark chapter 7 and we're going to read verse 10. Mark 7 and 10. Let's see if it stays there this time. Yeah, there we go. Mark 7 and 10.
Mark 7, verse 10. For Moses said, honor thy father and thy mother, and whoso curseth father or mother, let him die the death.
Okay, so the question is, it says Moses said. Now this is Christ speaking here. Moses said, honor thy father and thy mother. Moses meaning the law. All right, and we're going to get into why the law started being called uh the law of Moses, or started becoming synonymous with the name Moses. But honor thy father and thy mother, that's the 10 commandments. That's the 10 commandments, right? So follow me here, right? Let's go to Exodus chapter 20. Okay. And let's make this here. All right. Read verse 12.
Verse 12, Exodus 20 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God giveth you.
All right. So honor thy father and thy mother. This is the 10 commandments. Now, the 10 commandments, and we're going to come back to this, and we're going to come back to this scripture a little later, but let's go to Exodus 31:18. The 10 commandments was written with the finger of God. Read that.
This is Exodus 31 and 18. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, two tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of God.
Right. So this is how we can now say with certainty that when we read this and when we read that in Mark, right? It says, I mean, we read in Mark, it says that Moses said, honor thy father and thy mother. That's the law. And that was written with the finger of the most high. So we see how the name Moses is being used to represent the law. So when you see when we go back to Mark 10, and then we're gonna jump over to Matthew. I know some of you might be saying, well, Matthew 19, we're gonna get to that in just a moment. So I don't know why I stopped sharing my screen. All right, so we go back to Mark 10. Let me know where you can see it.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, Mark 10 and 3, it says, and he answered and said unto them, what did Moses command you? And they said, Moses suffered to write a bill of divorcement and put her away. Well, Moses meaning the law. So what did the law command you? And he says, and they said, Moses, aka the law, suffered to write a bill of divorcement to put her away. Um, so we have to understand this, and I think this is going to clear up a lot of confusion because a lot of people are thinking that Moses somehow wrote the law himself. He did his own thing. He came up with this stuff on his own, or he like the Most High, commissioned him to go and write laws that he saw fit, and that's not the case at all. All right, now, so what we're gonna do now too, and because I want to demonstrate this through the scriptures definitively and really paint a picture here of what took place and how the law was given, how it became synonymous with Moses, how it became the law of Moses, and not necessarily the law of the Most High. So we're going to go into a lot of background concerning this whole situation. It's a lot. It's a lot, and I'm trying to see, do I want to go through everything here because there's so much information. But let's start from Exodus 19. We're going to start with Exodus 19, and we're going to start with what took place at Mount Sinai. All right, so we're going to jump down. And I mean, I would suggest you go back and read all of this, like the whole Exodus, and start from like 19 or whatever. But for the sake of this, to try to condense this, because it's a lot, we're going to start verse 16. Exodus 19, we're going to read 16 through 25.
Exodus 19, starting at
Mm-hmm.
verse 16. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice
Sorry
of the
about that.
trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord had descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by voice. And the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount. And the Lord called Moses up to the top of the mount. And Moses went up. And the Lord said unto Moses, go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish. And let the priests also, which come near to the Lord, sanctify themselves, lest the Lord break forth upon them. And Moses said unto the Lord, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for thou chargest us, saying, set bounds about the mount and sanctify it. And the Lord said unto him, away, get thee down, and thou shalt come up, thou and Aaron with thee. But let not the priests and the people break through to come up unto the Lord, lest he break forth upon them. And so Moses went down unto the people and spake to them.
All right. So what's happening here? This is 3 months. If we go to verse 1, it says, in the third month, when the children of Israel were going forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. So it's just 3 months after they left out of Egypt. They get here, they get to the mountain. Now the Most High has told Moses, listen, in 3 days I'm gonna visit you. I'm gonna come on this mountain. Gather the people. They're gonna be in the nether part of the mountain, meaning the bottom of the mountain. They're gonna be there. They're going to, but don't let them touch the mountain lest they die, lest they, because people want to be nosy, they want to see. So I want to try to explain this in a way that it's logical and you really can understand it, because I think there's a just a lack of perspective here. So Moses tells the people to get ready. They have to sanctify themselves, wash. They have to, they can't sleep with their wives. They have to get ready for the Most High. I mean, this is the King, the Creator, the Lord of Lords, King of Kings coming into the presence. They get ready they set a perimeter around the bottom of the mountain, and It says, and it came to pass in the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. So now they see this great thing, and it was it was it was a spectacular sight, right? You have this huge cloud, a fire, this huge fire on this mountain, and from this fire comes this black smoke, and there's lightning, and there's thunder, and the earth is trembling, the earth is shaking. It's like an earthquake. It's massive on the top of this mountain, and um, and Moses said, "Listen, make sure you tell these people don't get close to this mountain. They're gonna stay, a certain perimeter around the bottom, but don't touch this mountain because people knows they want to see this. Somebody would be tempted to go see. I want to see. And it was a reason for the black smoke also, because the Most High did not want the children of Israel to see a similitude, even a silhouette of what he looked like, because what's the first thing they're gonna want to do? Make an idol,
Yeah,
make an
make an
image,
idol. Yep.
right? And that's why the Most High, he said on more than one occasion, don't make any images. And just logically, it doesn't make sense. What image are you going to make of the Creator when He created everything? It's nothing you can. There's nothing you can. No image you can make that represent the Creator of everything, right? So anyway, this is the set, right? So then they hear this loud sound, and it's just this amazing scene, and uh, then what happens is we go to the next verse, the next chapter. How do I flip this thing? Can I get this to go to the next page? No.
Exodus 20.
Yeah, I want to go to Exodus 20. I wanted to just try to
You
change the page, but I had to
yeah.
do it this way. So
There is
Exodus
a way to
20,
do it.
right? Yeah, I know. So Exodus 21 says, "And God spake all these words." So the Most High said in Exodus 19, "I'm going to speak to the people." So I want everybody to understand this. When the Most High came over the mountain, he spoke the Ten Commandments. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. He said this to the children of Israel. They're there, they're hearing this, they're listening to this, and it's blowing their mind. Right? Did my audio cut out? Hello? There you
No, you
go.
good.
All right,
I hear
cool.
you. Yeah.
I messed it up on my end. All right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I can't hear me. There we go. All right, so yeah, okay, because I'm all right. So he's speaking to them from the mountain. They're hearing the Most High. It's not just Moses. At this point, everybody who's there is hearing this. And he goes through the whole thing. He tells them all this from him to them. They hear this. Now, what is their response? Let's jump down to verse 18, brother. Corey, if you could read verse 18 through 22.
Exodus 20, starting at verse 18. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for God has come to prove you, that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where the Most High was.
Read verse 22.
Verse 22, and the
Yeah.
Most High spake unto Moses, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven.
All right. Um, So here again, so the people, so now the Most High just got through speaking. So this cloud, this all this smoke is coming off the top of this mountain. There's lightning, thunder, the earth is shaking, and they're hearing the voice of God. And it's so powerful that they feel like they're gonna die. They said, and so they backed up. They started getting further away from the mountain at this point because it looks like the mountain is about to explode or erupt, and all this fire, this smoke, the earth is shaking. And they said, Listen, Moses, speak thou with us and we will hear. So you talk to us and we'll listen to you, but let not God speak with us lest we die. So you have to understand, for somebody to say don't let God keep talking to us or we're going to die. That we have to kind of visualize the power and the strength of the Most High's voice to the point where when he spoke, they felt like the earth was going to crumble and they were going to die. This is a powerful, powerful, powerful scene. And it's a reason why I'm going here because it's going to put everything together in perspective and understanding the law of Moses and what the Most High said and what Moses said. Okay. Um, if Moses said anything at all. So, uh, and Moses said to the people, don't be afraid. God has come to prove you. And when it says prove you, he's coming to prove that he is who he says he is by the things he did in Egypt. Now, not only did he bring you out of captivity, he just took down the superpower, but now you're hearing his voice. You're seeing for yourself. You're seeing and hearing the presence of God for yourself. He's proving to you who he is, that he is who he says he is. And it says, and that his fear may be before your faces. So now it says, it says, fear not. So that fear not me, don't be afraid. He's coming to show you who he is, that your fear or respect should be so you really understand what you're dealing with. You're gonna respect him and respect the most high to the utmost because you're seeing the power and the might of God for yourself, that ye sin not. So because of this powerful uh encounter experience, this is going to show you who God really is, who's the real God, because in Egypt there were so many gods and so much credit and things were given to these other gods. And so now the Most High is showing, no, I am God. I am the creator. And now God meaning power, authority, but there's only one true authority, one true power. And he's showing that that's who he is. And he says, and he's doing this so that you understand you can respect him to the way we need to respect him and that you sin not. Sinning means going against the word of God, right? Brother Corey, can you get the definition of sin real quick? First John 3 and 4. Well,
First John.
we'll come back to Exodus right quick. Just going off script here a little bit. First John 3 and 4. It says right, it says,
Yeah.
whosoever committed sin also, I mean, whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law. So when Moses said the Most High is coming to prove you, he's coming to prove who he is to you, and that your fear may be before his faces. I mean, that his fear may be before your faces. Am I saying it right? Um, that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. All right, so now we're not going to transgress God's law. He just gave you his 10 commandments. He spoke the 10 commandments to you, right? And it says, and the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near to the thick darkness where God was. So now Moses is halfway up this mountain. The people are at the bottom. I assume I can. There's a lot of yelling and screaming going on. As far as communication, because there's a distance. Now Moses saying, "Don't be afraid. God is, He's coming to show you who He is. He's the true God. That you respect Him. That you understand. You fear God the way you should, and that you don't sin. That you don't go against His word, because His word is law." Right? And so this was a covenant being made. And it says, and the Lord said unto Moses, thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. So you've experienced the voice of God. God from the God of heaven has come down on this mountain. You heard his voice on this from this mountain. You've seen for yourself, right? And it says, ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. Now, the first commandment, thou shalt thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee. Second commandment, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image of any or any likeness. So he keeps reiterating this. Most High keeps reiterating, don't make images. Don't make images. They heard his voice, and then he's telling Moses, right, that they don't make any gods of silver or gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me. So this is more commandments that the Most High is giving. After he gives the 10 commandments, now he's dealing with Moses, right? All right, so let's see. Let's get back on track here. Okay. Okay, so now let's oh man, okay, I'm messing up my camera. We're gonna go to Exodus 21. We're gonna keep going with this, right? Let's go to Exodus 21 and Okay, so well, no, we're not gonna explain. But so what's happening here? So now Moses went into now Moses is going into or on top of Mount Sinai into this thick darkness to commune with the Most High. So this is 40 days. He's up there for 40 days. So and in the midst of this 40 days, the people are down there waiting for Moses to come back. Right? Now, mind you, they've seen Moses come and represent the Most High in Egypt. They've seen the Most High do all these plagues, split the Red Sea. You know, he came down as a pillar of fire between the Israelites and the Egyptians at what today is known as Nueva. And they saw all these things. They seen Moses. You know, I don't think they heard the Most High talking to Moses at that time, but they seen Moses praying and receiving revelation and following instructions. So now Moses is talking to the Most High, and then all of a sudden, the presence of the Most High comes down on this mountain. So now they're not going through Moses; they're hearing the Most High for themselves, and they're afraid, they're terrified. They like, nah, we want to go back to how it was. We'll let Moses, you do that part, and we'll listen to you. And the Most High say, okay, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So now Exodus 21, chapter 21 through 31, that whole part is Moses receiving law, statutes, commandments from the Most High. So the next 10 chapters, Exodus 21 through chapter 31, Exodus chapter 21 through Exodus chapter 31 is over the next 40 days of Moses receiving law, statutes, commandments from the Most High. When he went on that mountain, he didn't just get the 10 commandments. He received all these different laws. If you go through, it's just, the laws about slavers, about slaves, how to, and slaves is not what the transatlantic slave or chattel slavery, like how they did it to our people.
Yeah.
This was a form of servitude, a form of working off debt. You work for somebody, you owe money, and you work until you
Commit a
pay off your debt.
crime.
Right. Yeah, certain things, and it was no longer than 7 years. Right. Every 7 years, you had to had to release debt.
Yeah.
Forgive all debt. Anybody working for you, got to let them go. So that's just how it was. So you got laws about restitution. Um, laws about social justice. All these different laws Moses was receiving from the Most High on Mount Sinai over the next 40 days, right? Okay, so then after this, over these next 40 days, Moses comes back down from the mountain. And the Most High is talking to him, and he tells Moses, "Hey, you might want to get down there right now, because I just told these people not to make no images. And they down there worshiping another god already. Right? Most High was ready to kill him. He said, "Step to the side. I'm gonna wipe them out and start a whole new nation through you." And Moses prayed, "Lord, please don't do that. It's gonna the Egyptians and people gonna say you couldn't take care of us, so you that we died and then blah blah blah." So Most High, he rocked with Moses, so he said, "Okay, all right, I'll let him live, but I'm gonna get some of these people straight, open up the ground, swallow people. There's a whole bunch of stuff that took place, right? You got to read all this." So he comes down after 40 days. He sees the people partying like it's 1999. Now, this is something I didn't realize initially. You go back and read, I think, 1 Corinthians 10, the first 10 verses, and Paul talks about it, but they were actually going into like these Egyptian festival work. They had took all the gold, they made a golden calf, and they were partying. They were naked. They were getting into some wild stuff, like explicit stuff, right? That they had learned from the Egyptians. So it wasn't just like they made a golden calf and they were just bowing down and praying to the golden calf. Then they were they was getting into some wild stuff, right? Sexual things, just all out, going all out with this stuff, music, dancing, all kind of, things like that. And Moses comes down, he see this, he has a fit, he slams the commandments down, he drops them, he throws them down, they break. He takes the gold, grinds it up, make them drink it. He got on Aaron here. Aaron said, "Man, these people threatened to kill me. You know how these people is. They thought you was dead. Let's put it in perspective. Moses, now they heard the voice of the Most High. They see the earth shaking, the lightning, the thunder, and Moses goes into that. He walks up into that.
Gone for
And,
40 days.
you know, okay, a couple hours go by. Man, Moses still ain't came back. A day go by, couple days, a week, couple weeks go by, 2, 3 weeks, and Moses ain't came back. Them people say, man, Moses dead. Like, because, I mean, who can he? We watched him go on the mountain. He didn't take a biscuit. He didn't take, you know what I'm saying? He
Take
didn't
no
take,
water.
he didn't take no water, nothing. He was up there 30, 40 days, no food, no water. So even if they didn't think that the presence of God killed him, the man starved to death. The man, what I'm saying, he didn't dehydrated to death. There's no way he alive after 30 days on a mountain with all that smoke, that lightning, that thundering, and he ain't had no food, no water. Because he ain't came down from this mountain. The Kamanya, they're surrounding this mountain. So they gonna see, and they assume he was dead, which makes sense. That's logical. That's a logical explanation. So I'm just putting myself in their perspective, in their shoes, and they're saying, well, you know, whatever Moses was talking about must not have been accurate because he didn't went up there and died. If that was really God and Moses was really doing what God said doing, he wouldn't be dead. So Moses was
Right.
wrong about the God he was talking about, how to worship that God. So this must be the God that we learned about in Egypt. Let's make an image. Let's make our golden calf, what we learned in Egypt, and pray and worship to this God. Right? Can you hear me? Because saying my internet is unstable.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Am
I
I
can hear
clear?
you.
Okay. So
Yeah, loud and
yeah.
clear.
All right. So yeah, saying, so this is I understand why they did what they did, right? 40 days. The man been up there, no food, no water. He did. So they go to worship the God that they assume they because whatever Moses was talking about didn't work. So let's go back to what we learned in Egypt. Let's worship this God. So they make a golden calf and they worship this God. And Moses come down, see it. He get on their head about it. He straighten them up. He tell them, listen, man, the Most High, y'all gonna make the Most High kill y'all. Y'all just, and so they say, oh, okay, we was tripping. We thought Moses was dead, but we see that this is the God. Okay, all right, let's get back on it. So now the scriptures don't say how long Moses was down between the 240 days, but he goes back up for another 40 days. Okay, he goes back up for another 40 days. So that's 80 days. Let's assume he was down. He was I'll just make say a week, maybe less, whatever. So that's roughly 3 months. That's roughly 3 months, right? So
Hmm.
now it took him 3 months to get there. Now he's been on this mountain for 3 months, 80 days, receiving laws and commandments, right? It wasn't just the 10 commandments, all these different laws, right? So then he goes back up. So the first 40 days he received all these different laws and commandments from Exodus 21 to 31, right? And then now when he goes back up the mountain, now the Most High shows him the tabernacle. He shows him a similitude of heaven, the heavenly tabernacle, and tells Moses or gives him instructions on how to make this on earth. I take this much gold, this much silver, this much copper, this much bronze. He gives them all these instructions. So when you read Exodus starting at 31, he gives them all these instructions on how to do these things. So over the next 40 days, the Most High is instructing Moses on how to do the tabernacle, amongst other things, right? That he's telling Moses. So all this is happening. So once again, Moses is not coming up with these laws. He's receiving these laws from the Most High on this mountain over all this time. At the end of that, right, we're going to jump to Exodus chapter 40. Okay. So now it's been roughly 6 months, right? They've been there for roughly 6 months. So we jump to Exodus 40 and we're going to start at verse 34. If you can read that, verse 34 down to 38.
Exodus chapter 40, starting at verse 34. Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Most High filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation, because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory of the Most High filled the tabernacle. And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onward in all their journeys. Verse 37. But if the cloud were not taken up, then they journeyed not till the day that it was taken up, for the cloud of the Lord was upon the tabernacle. day by day, and fire was on it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout all their journeys.
All right. So now what happens? So over the next 5 months, Moses come down from the mountain. It's been 6 months in. Over the next 5 months, they start to construct the tabernacle according to what the Most High told them. And go back to verse 1, Exodus chapter 40, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month, thou shalt set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. Excuse me. So over 5 months, they made everything they were supposed to make. And on the first day of the first month, which would have been the next year, right? Then it's the first day of the first month of the next year. So now this is 2 years. This is going on the second year, the first month of the second year. So they've been out of Egypt a whole year. They've been in Sinai for the last 11 months, right? Um, and they took them, so they constructed everything. Then they wait till the first day of the first month, the basically New Year's Day, and they erect or put up the tabernacle. Now, when they do this, right, it says here, and Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and their feet. I'm in verse 31, verse 32. When they went into the tent of the congregation and when they came near to unto the altar, they washed as the Lord commanded Moses. And he reared up the court round about the tabernacle and the altar and set up the hanging of the court gates. So Moses finished the work. And then when he finished the work in which as he was instructed to do on the first day of the first month of the new year, right? Then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of God filled the tabernacle. So what we see is that the thick dark smoke that was over the mountain has now come and settled over the tabernacle as a cloud. Okay. And then it says, uh, it says in the glory of in verse 434 it says, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle, and Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation because the cloud abode there, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. So this glory is a light, and it was so powerful, so bright, so strong, this energy, Moses couldn't enter into the tabernacle. So now the Most High is on this over this tabernacle in a cloud. And whenever that cloud abode in that tabernacle, I'm visioning like a pillar, not like like a pole, like I guess like a large, huge, but a cloud, a big old pillar, a cloud is over this tabernacle and it's filling this tabernacle with glory. And as long as it's there, they stay there. They sit there. And they sat there for the next 19 days. It wasn't until the 20th day that this cloud went up, and when it went up, they got all their stuff and they started moving and following this cloud. And when it stopped, they stopped, and the cloud would come back over the tabernacle. They would bring it and put it under the cloud. I'm thinking, and it would come down this tabernacle, and they would sit there as long as that cloud was there. All right, and I'm gonna show you this. And so now, what's interesting about this is that now, after an entire after 10 months of them being at Mount Sinai, right? Moses was on this mountain receiving the laws, receiving all the instruction on building a tabernacle. Then the Most High starts to give Moses laws, statutes, commandments from this pillar of cloud, this cloud that he's using to guide them. And so now he's speaking to him from there and giving him more commandments. So now what we call the law, we see came at Mount Sinai over the next over what 9 months, basically like 9 months. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, they start receiving laws from the Most High as they were going through the wilderness from the tabernacle. And I'm gonna show you this right here. So we're gonna go to let's go to Leviticus 1:1. All right, Leviticus 1:1, that's the end of it. And it says, and the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, and say unto them, if any man of you bring up an offering unto the Lord, ye shall bring your offering of cattle, even of the herd and the flock. So Leviticus goes into a lot of mostly the Levitical priesthood, how to do offerings and everything concerning the Levites. So these are laws that the Most High is still giving while they're in the wilderness from the tabernacle. Now, mind you, they was in the wilderness for 40 years. All right. Another example. Go to Numbers chapter 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tabernacle of the congregation on the first day of the second month, in the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt. So this is what I was telling you before. So this is when he built the tabernacle on the first day of the first month of the second year, and the Most High moved from the mountain to over this tabernacle, and he spoke to him from there. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness in the tabernacle of the congregation. So he's still speaking to Moses. So you understand that all these laws, I never counted. I hear people say it was 613 laws. I don't know how accurate that is, but let's just assume that's the case. These laws were not all downloaded into Moses' brain. Moses didn't come up with this stuff. The whole time he's being instructed on what to tell the children. Thus said the Lord. Go tell the children of Israel this. Go tell them that. Here's the laws on this. I want it like this. I want it like that. I want all the law was given to Moses from the Most High. Okay. Now, how did we go from this to the law of Moses? Let's go to Deuteronomy, and we're gonna pick up in chapter 5. I mean chapter 4, right? But I want to explain. So Deuteronomy, what happens is over the next 40 years, they go through, they fight these people, they do all these things. Moses disobeyed the Most High one time, right? The Most High, at one point, the first time, the children saying they was thirsty, the children of Israel, they mobbing through the desert, they're thirsty, they're tired, they're complaining. Uh, so the Most High tells Moses, take this staff, right, and hit this rock, strike the rock, and it's gonna bring forth water. So Moses goes, he does this, and water comes out. Um, and then later, years later, they're going through and the people complaining, murmuring, da, da. So the Most High tells Moses, go speak to the rock and it's going to bring forth water. And the people at this time, Moses is very frustrated with the children of Israel, all the complaining and the nagging. And he's frustrated and he goes up to the rock and he does what he did before, which was hit the rock. And it
Mm.
brought forth water. But because of that disobedience, the Most High said, you're not going to go into the promised land. And I'm saying that to say you understand the severity of the slightest disobedience. Because if you look at it, I can totally understand why he did it. It wasn't like Moses was bucking. He was these people, oh, you got over a million people crying. Oh, we thirsty, we hungry, we don't have this. We've been out in the wilderness all this time. We want meat. We want, and God, why, and all this is, and all the people, and time after time, the Most High done saved them from giants and all this stuff, and they still complaining, they still, nagging, they still have doubt, and
It's been
Moses,
years too.
yeah, years. Their clothes ain't never wore out.
Shoes ain't never wore out.
And I can only imagine they didn't even probably think about that. They never once said, "Wow, God, thank you for preserving my clothes, my foot, my shoes." It's not they ain't got no TJ Maxx.
Ain't got no Nike store.
Yeah, you ain't going. You're
No
not going to get no.
Timberlands.
Yeah, you're not going to get no clothes made. So the fact that their clothes lasted that long was a miracle. How many times? How many things has the most? I keep kicking this camera. How many things has the Most High done for us to preserve us that we don't even acknowledge and realize?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
man.
Because we're so caught up in what we don't have. Right? Count your many blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God has done. So Moses goes up out of frustration, hit this rock. Now he can't go into the promised land. All right. So and so now when they get to the promised land, well, right to the border, Moses sends in spies. He sends 12 individuals, one person from each tribe of Israel. They go in, they spy out the land, they come back. 10 of them say, no, can't do. It's a beautiful land. It's everything God has said it was, but they got them giants over there. We look like grasshoppers to these people. And they looked at us like we was grasshoppers. We was nothing. They didn't even, we was like bugs to them. And so we ain't got no chance. We can't do that. And you got Joshua and Caleb saying, no, God is with us. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. And so the people that had doubted, had fear, everybody, I think the scripture says everybody that was over the age of 20 when they came out of Egypt, none of those people were able to go into the promised land. So Joshua and Caleb took this next generation with them. So before they go into the promised land, right? So they now the 40 years is ended, and it's time for the next generation to go into this promised land. So they're now, I think, in Mount Horeb, I think. And is it Horeb? Was it?
Let me double check. I know we got. Dang it! It's funny you mention this because we got a video of horror from our GFN page. I don't know if I have it here, but I
Yeah.
do believe it was horror.
So
Um, yeah, we'll look into that though. But go ahead. You were
yeah.
saying?
So now you have a whole different generation, a whole younger generation, right? They were either babies or they didn't witness what happened at Mount Sinai.
Check that one.
You
Horror.
understand? They didn't see it. They didn't hear the Most High speak. They didn't. They didn't. They didn't see the Most High part the Red Sea. They didn't see the Most High open up the ground. They didn't see the Most High send quails. They didn't see the Most High send water. Let me back up real quick. When we talk about the situation with the water, I want people to understand something right quick. Right. Um, this situation with the water, it was millions of people, like at least 2.3 million people, right? Because it was a million men, not including women and children. So you add women and children, that's guesstimating about 2.5 million people at least. Plus, they had animals, they had cattle and livestock. All these people and all these animals need water. So when Moses struck the rock, in my mind, initially I used to always just think like a little hole came out the rock and water trickled down. And everybody was able to go to the water and get a handful of water and and quench their thirst. But that wasn't the case. They It was a lake of water that come out the rock. And they camped around that thing for months and maybe even years in some cases, right? Because that's you're in the wilderness and you stay there until the most I tell you to go. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of water. They had to water millions of people and millions of animals. And this
You know,
happened
that
twice.
actually
Yeah, go
turned
ahead.
into that area
Oh,
turned into
yeah.
an oasis
The o-
after that.
and the oasis is still there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and this not what this lesson about, but we can definitely y'all put
And
in the
it
comments if y'all want to, so go into these landmarks and these things that prove the scripture to be true. But go ahead, you about to say something else?
no. I was just pulling up this thing with Horeb. I believe Horeb is also where it tell you the number of palm trees there were. I think someone went there and counted the palm trees, and it
Yeah,
was the exact number that,
yeah, yeah. That's a
yeah,
fact. I just recently witnessed, not witnessed, but we recently heard somebody else going to that as well, and they were bringing up that
yeah,
fact that all those palm trees are there.
they're still there.
And
Yep.
I mean, so I just want to put this in perspective. What these people witnessed this. You had a whole generation of people that didn't go into the promised land, that saw that heard the Most High's voice, they seen the Most High operate, they seen them um, do miracle after miracle after miracle. And so now you have this next generation that's getting ready to go into the promised land. They didn't necessarily experience all these things and witness all these things. Some of them they did, a lot of them they didn't. So they were not, there to hear the Most High give the Ten Commandments. They were not there to see Moses go into the thick darkness and come back with these laws, and see Moses go get so close to the tabernacle and then come back and deliver these laws. They didn't see when the people, buck Moses and said, nah, we taking over. And or they said, go ask the Most High this, and Moses was okay. I'm gonna go ask him, and he would go in and ask the Most High this, and the Most High and he would come back and say, well, Most High said this and said that, and when they had a problem with it, he said, okay, well, we're gonna draw a line right here, and Most High said he gonna do a new thing. He gonna open up the earth and swallow up anybody who on that side of the line. Okay, Moses.
Yeah.
Okay, Moses. Now he gonna open up the earth. The earth opened up, and the people were swallowed alive into hell. What the Bible say? So, you know what I'm saying? It's people that saw that and people who didn't see that. So this generation that's going in, many of them didn't see those things or they was too young or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're in Deuteronomy. Now Moses is now going over all of this information with them before they go. He's going to recap the whole 40 years and all these laws to remind them, because they're going in and they weren't the generation that seen these and experienced these for themselves. So he's giving them this reminder. So this is what we're reading in Deuteronomy. This reminder, this recap of all the stuff that happened to this next generation. So from their perspective, so from going forward, the people that went into the promised land under Joshua and Caleb, they got the law from Moses. Moses is old. He's 119, 120 years old. He's standing there and he's delivering this the law, statutes, and commandments. Now, once again, they didn't have amphitheaters and microphones, so I'm only assuming they're out in this wilderness desert area. They got some place where his voice is echoing. He's up high, they're down low, and he's talking to this next generation, and he's explaining to them everything that happened, and they're receiving the law from Moses, and so this is how it becomes the law of Moses. You see what I'm saying? This is how it becomes the law of Moses because the generation that went into it is going to perpetuate the law, statutes, commandments, the history, and all these things. They got it from Moses, so it's the law of Moses from their perspective. But it was always coming from the Most High. All right.
Right.
Deuteronomy.
Another thing that add into that as well is today we have our own personal Bibles and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And, we can go and read and we can pull up verses and look at everything that we're looking at right now, for example. But back in the day, people used to have to go hear the law, like hear it. People would read it as well. But it wasn't a situation where you could just pull up a Bible or pull up a Bible app. So as we know in society, and we've done these kind of experiments before where, when you were a child, you might have sat in a circle and someone said something one person ear, and then by the time it got back
Yeah.
around, it
Yeah.
was something
Yeah.
totally different. So imagine being back in the day and when people spoke, you get what I'm saying? They reference things, but they might not reference them precisely. And
Mm-hmm.
then the part that's unprecise is the thing that constantly gets repeated. So for example, you might have a guy having a conversation about something in the law. You're like, yeah, well, Moses said this. But in reality, in the context of things, it was, the Most High who commanded Moses,
Right.
and Moses said this.
He
You
went
get what I'm
back and,
saying?
relate because that was the agreement they made in Exodus 20, right?
Right.
Moses, you talk to the Most High and come tell us.
Right.
So because
The,
if he talked to us like he did, we gonna die. We can't deal with that for whatever reason. You can deal with it. Remember, and when Moses came down, his face was shining bright. They had
right.
put a veil on
He
his
had to
face.
put a veil on his
His
face.
face
Yep.
was shining so bright they couldn't even look at him in the face. You know. So this is the situation. All right.
Yeah.
I want to read Deuteronomy chapter 4. All right, and this is when Moses goes to um go into the law, right? So let's read like the first 10 verses.
Starting from which verse? Four
One for
or
one.
one?
Yeah, starting
Gotcha.
one, read first 10 verses. Yeah.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 4, starting at verse 1. Now, therefore, hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live and go in and possess the land which the Lord your God of our fathers giveth you. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you.
All right, so
Your
just
eyes,
I just want to see. Don't add nothing, don't take away from it, that you may keep the commandments that I gave you. That what it said? Nah,
now
it
I
didn't
say,
say
which the Lord your
what the
God,
Lord
yeah,
commanded, which I
yeah,
commanded you, right? So the commandments of the Lord, remember, Moses went up to the mountain. He received it. Exodus 31 tells you the commandments was written with the finger of God. And so Moses is saying, listen, don't take from it, don't add to it. Keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. So now this is how it's becoming the law of Moses, because I'm commanding you to keep the Lord's commandments. But it's all they're receiving all this from Moses at this point, this next generation. Keep reading.
verse 3. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did because of Baal Peor. For all the men that followed Baal Peor, the Lord thy God hath destroyed them from among you. But ye that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you, this day.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, I have taught you the statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me,
Mm-hmm.
that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it.
Once
Keep
again,
therefore,
once again, I have taught you the statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me. Moses said, Moses, go tell the people this. Go tell the people this. Tell them how to sacrifice. Tell them I want this. Tell them this. This is not the law. This is not Moses' law. This is the Most High's law. This is the Most High's commandments. This is the Most High's statutes, right? But Moses was the go-between. Moses was the what's the one I'm looking for? The mediator, right? Moses was
right,
the person that relayed the message. Keep reading verse 6.
verse 6, keep therefore and do them. For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day?
Okay, stop, stop,
Only
stop,
take
stop,
heed
stop,
to.
stop. And this is how can we read this and then turn around and say God did away with all this? You know what I'm saying? Something
Mhm.
he went through all this to establish himself in the eyes of these people. And this would become history, and that this would be passed on from generation to generation, you know, to bring forth his son in the flesh, right? All this happened, and then just to get rid of it, just say, "Oh, that's old. That's the Old Testament. That's all. That's old." Right? Um, and he says, therefore, keep that verse 6, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of nations. This is what's going to separate you and make you wise in the eyes of all these other nations. This is what's going to show them, I'm saying, the laws of cleanliness, the dietary law, how they do this, how they do all these different things, not mixing fabrics. They like, oh, wow, how did y'all know that? Who taught you not to do this? Who taught you to do this? Who taught you to use running water and not still water? And so this is all these things the Most High told us. This is what's going to separate you all from other nations and make you wise in the sight of these other nations. You know what I'm saying? And so it says which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Where they get this wisdom from? How are they able to build these monuments? How are they able to do this and do that? It's the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments, right? Verse 8. And what nation is so great
Verse,
and have statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law? So righteous as all this law. This law is so righteous, which I set before you this day. This is what the Most High said, and this is what Moses is relaying to the people, because he's admonishing them. He's trying to encourage them and remind them when they go into this land, don't forget the Most High. Don't forget His law, statutes, commandments. Don't forget to follow Him and be obedient to Him as we were, and how He took us through all these victories. Okay, go ahead, verse 9.
verse 9, only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, lest I depart from, lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy son's son.
Right.
Verse
So
10.
pass this information on. Don't forget what you witnessed, because they saw some stuff. They might not have saw everything, but they saw some stuff because Moses was fighting giants. Right. He had the who no who fought was that Moses or
Yeah, that was Moses.
Moses,
Yeah.
Og of Bashan. This giant, to read about it. What I'm saying? So they did some stuff, man. They overcame some obstacles. And they had to, and they saw when the Most High was upset with them too. So they experienced some things. That's why Joshua and Caleb was like, man, we can do it. Like, we defeated Og of Bashan. Now we can't go defeat these Canaanites. It wasn't the first time they had to deal with giants. So, and
Yeah.
these are the people, and so the ones that are going into the promised land are the ones who said, yeah, we're gonna go and fight these giants like we did the other giants. We believe in the Most High gonna give us the victory, like He said under Joshua's leadership. Just on a side note, too, I don't know. Did you ever read and understand that Joshua was going up and down that mountain with Moses to a certain point? He was helping Moses up and down
Yeah,
that mountain.
he could
So
only go to a certain point,
right,
and
he
then
was
he would
like
stop. Yeah,
he was like Moses' apprentice.
right,
You know what I'm saying? And then he ended up taking over. So I can definitely see how he would have that kind of faith and that kind of trust because he was close to Moses and he was right there in the
right.
mix of it. You know what I'm saying? To a certain extent. So yeah, so this is Most High telling them, remind them, keep reading verse 10. And he says, teach this to these laws, statutes, commandments, teach it to your sons and your sons' sons. Pass this information down from generation to generation. Don't forget what the Most High did. Don't forget how he took down a superpower, how he split the Red Sea. Like we talk about this like this is just, you know, a thing. He split water, a river, one of the largest rivers in the world, and let people walk through it on dry ground. There's no technology we have today that can do that. This happened. This is not. This really happened, and we overlook. We talk act like this don't mean nothing. He did all this and then gave these people all these laws, statutes, commandments, only for us to say, "Oh, that's the law of Moses. That's done away with." Why would the Most High do all that just to get rid of this stuff later on? Right. So, verse 10. Go ahead. I don't want to get off track. Go ahead. Verse 10.
Deuteronomy 4 and 10, especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto thee, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children.
Mm-hmm. Keep reading.
Verse 11,
Yeah, I know
and
I
ye
said
came
10, but yeah,
near
keep
and
going.
stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, thick darkness.
Right.
Verse
So
12, and the
he
Lord,
he does a better job, or the scriptures does a better job of painting the picture here. So now you got this fire on the top of this mountain, and it's burning to the midst of heaven. This fire is coming down from the sky, it's raging up to the middle to the sky. And with all this heat and flame and fire and energy is really, I think, more accurate. Smoke started coming. So it's burning the top of the mountain. It's burning it. And smoke is going everywhere. This thick, dark smoke. It makes me think of like on one of the, and when you see in these movies, when these spaceships come down
yeah,
and the fire coming from the bottom and all this smoke starts to come out when they get ready to land, when they get closer, because it's burning everything around it. So this fire was burning the top of this mountain. All this smoke is everywhere. Right. This is what they're seeing. Keep reading verse 12 or verse 12.
yeah, verse 12. And the Most High spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude. Only ye heard a voice.
So they
And he
heard and
declared
God
unto
spoke
you
to you. Who can what nation of people can say that God spoke to them in the flesh on
as a
earth?
collective,
Not
as a
not
collective too.
right, not in spiritual sense where they hear, you hear the Holy Spirit speaking to you. God spoke to them audibly. That's a major thing. So he's telling these people, he's telling these youngsters that's going into this land, don't forget, God spoke to us. This is what you need to take with you in your mind, your mentality when you go into this land to take over this land. Care nothing about these giants and their brass weapons and their iron weapons, and we don't care about none of that. The God that we serve is with us now. He came down. Y'all heard his voice. Who else can? What other nation? Because they got every other nation got 100 gods, 1,000 gods that they worship. Which one of them came down and spoke? Which one of them parted the Red Sea? Which one of them freed them from a superpower? So this is what y'all got to keep in mind going into this promised land. Go ahead. We're gonna finish at verse 14.
Verse 14. And the Lord commanded
No,
me at that time,
let's finish. Pick up at
13.
verse 13 and finish at 14.
And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. He wrote them upon 2 tables of stone.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 14. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it.
And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments. And he
Right.
gave him the statutes and judgment. We see in Numbers, Leviticus, Exodus, the Most High was speaking to him from the tabernacle. Go tell the children this, go tell them that, go tell them that. So this stuff is not coming from Moses, it's coming from the Most High. All right. Now,
This is Deuteronomy 14. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, so now we're gonna go, let's get back to the whole divorce thing, right? So because I went through all this, right? I went through all this to put it in perspective when it says, and Moses said this. Moses is the law. What Moses said came from the Most High. Moses didn't make up his own thing, come up with his own words. He's saying he wrote, and what was written down, what was said to the people is what Moses was told to say and write, right? So we're gonna go to now um Matthew 19. All right, so we read it in Mark. Okay, now what's interesting about Mark is Mark is very vague when it comes to what was said, the details. Matthew is going to go into a little bit more detail, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to explain how we know that this is more details, right? It's a little more. It's a more detailed account of these events. Okay, uh, we're gonna get there in just a minute. So let's go Matthew 19, and let's read the first 12 verses.
This is Matthew chapter 19, starting at verse 1. And it came to pass that when Christ had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. Verse 2. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, Have ye not read that he that made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh? Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath put together, joined together, let no man put asunder. They say unto him, Why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? And he said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. Verse 9, and I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marrieth her, which is put away, doeth commit adultery. Verse 10, his disciples say unto him, If the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he said unto them, All men cannot receive this saying,
Mm-hmm.
save they to whom it is given. Verse 12, For there are some eunuchs, which were some born born from their mother's womb. And there are some eunuchs which are made eunuchs of men. And there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it.
Everything ain't for everybody. So
Right.
this is food for thought. I don't have the answer, right? I'm not giving the answer. Um, why? And I'm asking you this question. You don't necessarily have to answer, but it's for everybody
Okay.
listening. Something to think about. Why did the disciples understand this to be saying, well, we shouldn't get married? If this the case, we shouldn't get married. Why did they conclude that from what Christ explained to the
Yeah.
Pharisees? That's
I,
I wonder why.
I personally think if I'm looking at it in the context of what's being read here, I'm thinking that at that particular time in history in the land, divorce rates are probably very high, and men were probably putting away their wives for reasons that, was not the reason that Christ gave. So probably in that society at that time, there were probably a lot of women that had been married and divorced. So they're looking around, probably like, well, man, if that's the case, then it's probably not good to marry in this day and time because I,
How you
I don't
gonna?
know too many women that ain't been married, ain't been put away because apparently this thing
It was an
since the
issue.
time of Moses, it's continued on since that point that it's become a part of the culture for men to do such a thing. You get what I'm
And
saying?
we gonna get that.
Right,
I think you're right, and I think we gonna get some scripture that's gonna validate what you're saying.
right. So,
So
like, given the context of what we read, I think that's what it is. And the sad thing is that verse, I never really looked at that last verse like the way I looked at it after we just read it, but it spoke some things to me. I want to,
about the eunuchs,
sit down and read that. Yeah, because I'm like,
you could
my
make it make
goodness.
sense. Yeah. Why is he
You know what I'm
saying? Because
saying?
they saying, well, if this be the case, the man be if the case of the man be so with his wife, is it not good to marry? If it's
Yeah,
if this is the case, is it not good to marry? And then Christ said, look, everything, all men can receive this. And then it
right,
goes into this whole thing about being eunuchs.
right. Like
It's,
not dealing
this
with women at
right at
all. You know what I'm
all.
saying?
That's very interesting. That's something to
And
consider.
that is something to consider. And I think there are a lot of things that tie into that, man. Like that, just going into that verse alone, it'll probably open up a whole nother discussion, my God.
Listen, until you just said that just now, not dealing with women, I'm like, wow, because Christ didn't deal with women.
Yeah,
He didn't. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? He stayed, he stayed pure.
right.
And he's
You know what I'm
saying, a
saying?
lot.
Paul, I think, was the same
Yeah,
way,
right.
So there were men that didn't deal with women.
Yeah.
And then we know that of the encounter that Christ had with that other woman, you know what I'm saying? You probably, if you don't touch on that, probably be a good verse to go into what you're saying. But
The woman at
yeah,
the well,
this,
some of the
yeah, yeah, the lady at the well.
uh she went from Damascus.
She was from Samaria,
Yeah,
I
the
think.
Samaritan woman. Thank
Yeah,
you. There you go. Yeah, it was
yeah,
it, the
but
Samaritan woman.
that right there is some serious stuff. And then that goes to show how serious marriages and divorce, like what,
Mm.
like, because today we have a culture where, oh, you divorce, oh, just go out there and get married again. And but you don't really think about it as a believer or a Christian. Like, okay, if I do, was this done the right way? Like, let's say, for example, a man, because you don't want to project things out, you divorced a woman for no reason, and then you just, okay, well, I'm gonna go get another wife or whatever or something, like
No,
that's something
yeah,
to look at, you know what I'm saying?
right.
But yeah, that those verses spoke. But go ahead. I know you're about to make your
No,
segue.
yeah. So, well, so now I wanna look at this. I want to examine Matthew 19, right? Because we read the one in Mark, and I want to point out some differences that I think are very key. All right, so it says the Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him. Here's this tempting again. What's the tempting? What are they doing? They're trying to get him to say something that's against the law. So we have to understand that Christ never spoke against the law. When we read, I think it's in Matthew 5, you know, Moses said this, but verily I say unto you this. And people think that's Christ speaking against the law, and it's not, it's clarification. Christ was the rock that brought forth water. He was operating with the children of Israel when they received the law. He was the rock that Moses struck the second time. And when Christ got stabbed on his side, the water came out. You see what I'm saying? That's First Corinthians 10. It tells you, I think within the first 7 or 8 verses, it tells you Christ was that spiritual rock that brought forth water. All right. So
Hmm.
go read that. So how are they tempting Christ? They asked him this question, and this was tempting him. It says, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? Now, Matt, in the book of Mark, it doesn't say, it says, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife? So
Right.
um that was a more vague overview of the question. right? Because and we know that
Right.
because like your point you just made, they obviously divorce has been a practice for the longest. And they try to trip Christ up by saying, well, if that's the case, then why did Moses give us a bill, tell us to write a bill of divorcement? So it was clear to the Pharisees who knew the law that they had been practicing divorce since they received the law. And then we're going to go into it and see that they more than likely was practicing divorce in Egypt before they received the law of the Most High. This divorce is
Right.
not was not a new concept when they got the law, statutes, commandments from the Most High, because the Most High didn't introduce divorce to them. He just told them how to do it, and we're gonna get into that in just a moment. So the question is about, is it lawful to put away his wife for every cause? Not, is it lawful to put away your wife? Because it's in the
Yeah.
law. We're going to get there in just a moment. It's in the law that, excuse me, that you're able to divorce, right? But is it lawful to put away your wife for every cause? Is the question. That's the focus. Not can you
Just doing
divorce
it because you want to do it.
for
Any
every
reason, every
cause,
reason.
right? And he says, have you not read that he which made them in the beginning made them male and female? This is the book of Genesis. And said, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother. And you know something, I never said nothing about this, but I want to go ahead and say something about this. I don't know what happened. How do we get to the point where we say mother and father? But everywhere in the scriptures is always father and mother, father and mother. Honor thy father and thy mother. But everything with us today is mommy and daddy, mother
Yeah,
and
we
father.
put the mother. Yeah, that is true. Even when we recite the commandment without reading it, we
Mm-hmm.
say mother and father, many of us.
That's just a little tidbit, something just stuck out, right?
Yeah.
So it says,
Switch it around.
yeah, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore, there are no more twain, so it's no more two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man put asunder, including you, husband, wife, including you. You can't break up what the Most High put together. It says, then say unto them, why did they say unto him? So this is their response. Why did Moses then give command to give a writing of divorce and to put her away? And they said unto him, and he said unto them, so Christ said, Moses, because of the hardness of your heart. Moses, meaning the law, because Moses got the law from the Most High, and Christ was there operating with the children of Israel. Moses, or the law, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. From the beginning, it was not so. Right? Uh, and I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except. So there's a clause, there's a provision for divorce. Right? You can't put it. So can you put her away for every cause? Is the question asked? No. Right? Only or except whoever, if anybody who put away his wife, meaning divorce, except except it be for fornication. That's the only um that's the only stipulation. That's the only justification for divorce. So you know you can't put her away for every cause. That's the answer to the question that they were asking.
Right.
Right. And they said, well, Moses said we can
And
give a bill of divorcement. And I'm gonna show you, we're gonna go look at what's in the law and see how they were
right.
abusing or misinterpreting that. But what you about to say?
I was gonna say, man, this word fornication as well, like,
Mm-hmm.
is definitely a word to look into because I know,
We're gonna look
based
into
on
it
the
right
world we
now.
live in, it's a single faceted definition from what people understand it to be, but there's a spiritual side to it. And then there's a whole chapter that goes into different types of it. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because for
Mm-hmm.
example, some people might say, well, fornication means adultery. And if she don't commit adultery, then you can't divorce her. But then there's a whole chapter in Exodus, which is why it's very important that we do what we're doing right now, and go back into the law
Yeah.
to examine some things that go into different types of fornication. So
So
as you can
eh,
see here, harlotry, incest, bestiality, for example. It's a common practice around the world today in some places where some people deal with animals. That's a type of fornication.
So
You
yeah,
get what I'm saying?
all these things fall under fornication, right? Illicit sexual intercourse, adultery, fornication, homosexuality, lesbianism, intercourse with animals, like you said, bestiality,
Yeah,
sexual intercourse with close relatives. That's Leviticus 18 tells you not to do that. Sexual intercourse with a divorced man or woman, right? So which is literally what Christ said here. Any man whosoever shall put away his wife except it be for fornication and shall marry another committeth adultery.
right.
And whosoever marrieth her, which is put away, doth commit adultery. Because you're in the eyes of the Most High, you're still married. So only saving for fornication, and we're gonna see. I think the scripture gonna
Leviticus.
show when that precedent was set. Okay, or show the Most High operating within His own law. All right, it
Yeah,
says of defilement of idolatry. So there's spiritual and physical fornication,
yeah.
and
So if
as
you're dealing, go ahead.
go ahead.
Now I was gonna say, like, for example, we talk about idols. Um, that could be somebody delving into demonic activity
Yeah,
or witchcraft and all of that. Because you gotta think about it. Uh, not only is it, not only do we just know that to be something that we should be doing, but that was something that was punishable by death back in that time anyway.
suffer
So
not a wish to
automatic
live.
by default, the woman would be put away if she was found to have been doing those things. She would
Right,
end up being killed, So
right. So
yeah,
if you marry a woman, then she start practicing witchcraft, you don't have to stay with her.
yeah,
That's grounds for divorce, right? And it says, as the element, as the defilement of idolatry, as incurred by eating the sacrifice offered to idols. So this is a form of idolatry. All right. So let's go back here. Boom. All right, now, so this is the question, asked and answered. Can you put away a woman, put away your wife for every cause? No, only for fornication. And there's a fornication is an umbrella, and there's certain things that fall under that. I don't know if people saw that either, but for those who may not know, this may be news to you or not. But the word pornography
yeah.
comes from it's the Greek word for the word for fornication comes from the Greek word pornography. Let me pull it up one more
Yeah.
time so people can see that.
Pornea. Yeah.
Where is it at? Fornication.
Uh, yeah, right
Uh,
there.
can you see it?
Pornea. Yep.
Okay, because it's split on my screen. Can you read it? Because I can't
Yeah,
see it.
it says
Oh yeah,
Greek 4202, I think that is. I
yeah,
can't see the last number. And it says porneia.
yeah, pornea. So the word pornography, pornea, that's fornication. So when you're watching pornography, anybody doing that, you're watching fornication. You're engaging in fornication. Is what that is, right?
That brings up
Uh,
another question right there.
uh-oh.
Because some people probably see this and say, so if my wife is watching porn, is that fornication? Is that grounds for it? And I'm laughing, but that's a serious
Yeah, that's
question that
somebody.
might
But
get
see,
brought up.
that's somebody looking for
Yeah,
um uh reason to divorce, right?
right,
That's somebody looking
right.
for the reason to divorce.
Body would
Because
probably do that.
at the end of the day, you should be looking to make your marriage work and finding reasons to stay, not finding reasons to leave. Because
Right,
here's the deal: I'm not gonna tell somebody what constitutes this, and play with it if you want to.
right.
Because at the end of the day, you got to stand before the Most High. You have the Bible. You ain't gonna stand before the Most High and say, right, well, where I said, no, where I
Yeah,
show you what the Scripture said. Now you pray and fast and talk to the Most High about making your marriage work.
right,
But I'm not finna. I encourage anybody to work it out because the Most High
right.
forgave us, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, people want to play that game. I'm not playing that game with you.
Yeah,
But
some
but I,
people
yeah,
will look for that. That's why I mentioned that because
yeah,
I know how how people are like what the Pharisees are saying here. Is it lawful to do it for this reason?
right.
Some people are just miserable within their
It,
marriage, not even because of the person, but because of themselves. You know what I'm saying? So they look
various
for
reasons.
reasons out.
Yeah,
You know
various
what I'm
reasons.
saying?
So he said, now I want to look at this, right? And they said unto him, so Christ said what he said, right? In the beginning, it was not so. And what God put together, let no man put asunder. Why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? Why Moses said to give her a bill of divorce and put, like Moses said, divorce the woman?
Yeah.
And see, this is not this is them taking the law out of context. But you're talking to Christ. You're talking to the lawgiver. So I want us to look at it. Let's go and read what was actually said. What law are they talking about? And this is why it's so important that we actually read the Bible, that we actually read the quote unquote Old Testament or the Old Covenant and understand it. So, because there's no way you can truly understand the New Covenant if you don't know the Old Covenant. You have to know these things. So let's look at what was actually said. Can you read the first four verses, Exodus 24, verses 1 through 4?
This is Exodus 24, starting at verse 1. And he said unto Moses, Come up unto the Lord, thou and Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel, and worship ye afar off. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with them.
Wait, this is not
And
the right
Moses
one.
came,
This is not what I want. Where's it at? What was this? Moses? Oh, it's X. I'm in Exodus. I'm sorry.
which,
I'm supposed to be in Deuteronomy. I'm like, this ain't it.
okay,
Yeah, Deuteronomy 24. My bad, y'all. Deuteronomy 24, the first four verses. I'm looking at that like this is not yeah, nothing to do with what we talking about. All right, Exodus. I
this is
mean, I keep saying Exodus. Deuteronomy chapter 24, the first four verses.
Deuteronomy 24 and 1. When a man taketh a wife and married her, when a man had taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her,
Mm-hmm.
then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. Verse 2. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go find, she may go and be another man's wife. Verse 3. And if the latter husband hate her and write her a bill of divorcement and giveth it in her hand and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, verse 4, verse 4, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled, for that is an abomination before the Lord. And thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance.
All right, so this is the law they're talking about, where it says, why did Moses say that we can give her a bill of divorcement and put her away? Well, we can write a note, say, hey, you're not my wife no more. Bye. That why did Moses say that? Well, first of all, Moses didn't say that. I mean, Moses said it, but Moses is relaying to them the laws, statutes, commandments that he was given from the Most High that he told the children of Israel before they went into the promised land. And this is the recap of that. So this is where that comes from. This is coming from the Most High, giving it to Moses, Moses giving it to the people. Right? When a man take a wife and marry her, if it come to pass that he shall find no favor, that she shall find no favor in his eyes. So he don't like this woman. He married her. Time go on. He don't like the woman. It says because he and the reason why he don't like her because he has found some uncleanliness in her. There's something wrong here. Now, uncleanliness is a kind of a general statement. I'm gonna give you an example in the scriptures of something that was in between men and women that will make her be called unclean or consider uncleanliness as an example. But so she lose favor in his eyes. He don't want to be with this woman no more because he finds some uncleanliness in her. Then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. Now she's free. Then she go find another husband. And it says, and the latter husband hate her. Hate meaning not how you feel about it, but hate means that he doesn't provide for her. He don't want to be with her, right? Love and hate is actions. You love somebody about what you do for them, or and you hate somebody about what you do for or to them or don't do for them, right? For example, if somebody's hungry, love is to feed them. Hate is to not feed them. It's not whether you care about them or not. How you feel about them is irrelevant. You love them if you fed them. You hate them if you didn't. Simple. When the Most High says, "Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated," how did He love Jacob when He created? He made them. They was twins in the womb. Why would He love Jacob and hate Esau? It's not that the Most High felt a certain way about Jacob and felt a certain way about Esau. No, he loved Jacob because he blessed Jacob with the fat of the land and all these blessings. And Esau got the mountains and the rocks. Esau didn't get the blessing. He got what was left over. So that was love versus hate, not feelings. So anyway, um, so if the second husband, he got an issue with this woman as well, uh, let him and write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of the house. Or if he passed away, then she cannot go back and be with her first husband. Right. So this is the law that they're talking about, that they're taking out of context and trying to use it to justify divorcing. And it's like you said, Corey, I really believe that that's what was happening even back then,
Yeah, people
because
weren't
that's
reading
that's
this.
that's why the Most High put the law, because they were going getting out of control. And I'm gonna show you that because I want to go back to, let's bounce back right quick, Matthew 19. It's a mosquito, man. Hold on. Mosquito harassing me in here. I'm gonna
I'm
get
doing
you.
it back
Yeah, I don't know where
in
you at.
full effect.
Yeah, you around me here. But so we're gonna go back to Matthew 19 right quick. We're gonna bounce back and forth. So y'all follow, stick with us right quick. Matthew 19. Okay, because I wanna examine something else real quick. Why? He says here, because it says in verse 8, he saith unto them, Moses or the law, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning was not so. So I want to show. Let's examine this. What are some examples of the hardness of your heart? Now, y'all excuse me, I get distracted by this mosquito, man. It's trying to drain me of my life forces. So let's go back to Deuteronomy, but this time we're gonna go to Deuteronomy chapter 22. Okay, Deuteronomy 22, and Brother Corey, I need you to read this while I fight these mosquitoes. Read verses 13 through 21, if you would, please.
This is Deuteronomy 22, starting at verse 13.
Yeah.
If any man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her and give occasions of speech against her and bring up an evil name upon her and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hated her. And lo, he had given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid. And yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city, and the elders of the city shall take that man and chastise him. Verse 19, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
She shall be his wife, and he may not put her away all his days.
You
But,
can't. Yeah, go ahead.
but if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of the city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she hath wrought folly in Israel to play the whore in her father's house.
Mm.
So shalt thou put away evil from among you.
So it's a big
Verse
deal.
22.
No, we're gonna start right. So it's a
Yeah,
big deal, um, to
I'll grab my charger.
for a woman to be not be a virgin, to have slept with a man and then go marry another man. That's a big deal, and it's been so minimized in today's society that it's abnormal to be a virgin when you get married. So now, what we seeing here, right? Verse 13. If you take a wife, he go into he hate her. So the hate is how he treats. So he takes a woman and then he starts to mistreat her, not feel a certain kind of way, not sitting over there like, man, I can't stand her. I shouldn't have married. No, he's mistreating this woman, right? The heart, because of the hardness of men's hearts. So he take this woman, he mistreat the woman, right? And he says, and give an occasional speech against her and bring up an evil name upon her and say, I took this woman and when I came to her, found her not a maid. So now this man that married this woman, he don't, and now he mistreating her. He not providing for her. He's not doing his husband's duty because as a husband, there's certain things according to scripture that as a husband you're supposed to do. And he's not doing these things because he don't want to be with this woman. He mistreating this woman. He hate her. And then it's to the point now he's gonna start lying and making up reasons to get a divorce. But this could cause this woman her life. This is the hardness of men's heart. Why the law allowed for divorce, right? Because of the hardness of men's heart. And so men, this is what they were doing, and that's why this law existed. That's why the Most High gave this law, because they were sitting there and they would lie. He knew they would do this, right? They would lie and come up with a reason to divorce this woman. So at that time, virginity was a big thing. And if you ask a man for his daughter, I want to know that she has not been with another man. Yeah, she's pure. And so they would go into the tent, they would consummate the marriage, and the blood from when the first time a woman has come together with a man, her hymen is broken and there's a blood that comes out. That would and they would have this sheet that they would consummate on, and the blood would come on that sheet, and then they would take that, fold it up, give it to the father as a token of virginity, proof of virginity. So now years later, come down the line, he gonna go lie and say, "Man, I shouldn't be married. I shouldn't be stuck with this woman. She wasn't a virgin when I married her anyway. She was a harlot when I married her. I found, what I'm saying, and whatever, right? Come up with this story. So now this is a big deal. This got to go to court because now you're speaking ill of this woman and you're shaming her
Bearing false
family.
witness.
Yeah, you're shaming her family. So they're gonna go to court, and the daddy, he gonna pull out that token of virginity. He gonna say, "No, here you go, right here. He's a lie. My daughter was a virgin. We're a good family. We're a good people." And so it says they're gonna take the man and chastise him. Now, you're looking at chastise, that means beat. They gonna beat him. They gonna beat him, and now and after he take that beating, he got to stay with that woman and be a husband to that woman. It wasn't just that y'all got to stay; he has to provide for her. And after he did lied on this woman, then mistreated this woman, lied on her, now you got to go be a husband to her, and you can't divorce her for nothing. And this is within the community, the culture. So it wasn't no workarounds, because if you did, they was gonna stone you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So this is this when it's talking about the because of the hardness of men's hearts, this is what that's talking about. And so because of this, the law made provision for divorce because
You
they
notice it gives,
go ahead.
you about to say?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you notice it gave both sides of the token,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
what Christ was talking about. Like, no, you can't divorce her for any cause except to be for this. And then it gave you an example of a case in which, okay, if it's not true, this is the penalty for you for not for lying on this woman. You get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
And bringing
Accountability.
shame to her. But then if it is true, then she's gonna get put away by the community anyway. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Right.
So that was the perfect example to show, okay, this was a stipulation. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Some people will argue the whole unclean thing and how that could be interpreted, but um, yeah, man.
Yeah.
That I think that's clear. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. So now I want to go to another verse. Okay, this is one of the ones that gets thrown out there, and no, and so I want to bring some clarity. I want to clarify some things on this as well. Um, we're gonna go to Malachi chapter 2, and we're gonna read verses 11 through 16, if you don't mind. I gotta share my screen, right?
Yeah.
All right. 1 second here. And I've heard this. I've been hearing this my whole life as a youngster, and then people use this one verse out of these 6 verses we're about to read, or 5 verses, whatever, right? So yeah, 6 verses, right? So people use this one verse, but we're gonna get to it. So start at verse 11, read down to verse 16.
This is Malachi chapter 2, starting at verse 11. Judah had dealt treacherously,
Mm.
and an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem. For Judah had profaned the holiness of the Lord, which he loved, and hath married the daughter of a strange God. The Lord will cut off the man that doeth this, the master and the scholar of the tabernacles of Jacob, and him that offereth an offering unto the Lord of hosts. And this have ye done again, covering the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping, and with crying, insomuch that he regardeth not an offering any more, or receiveth it with good at your hand. Verse 14, yet ye say, wherefore?
Why?
Because the Lord, yeah, but yeah, wherefore? Because the Lord had been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth,
Mm-hmm.
against whom thou hast dealt treacherously.
Mm.
Yet is she thy companion and the wife of thy covenant. Verse 15. And did not he make one? Yet had he the residue of the Spirit. And wherefore one?
And
That he might,
that's the they twain become one flesh.
right,
What that's talking about. I know it's worded this way, but that's what it's talking about. Go ahead.
that he might seek a godly seed. Therefore, take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against thy wife,
Mm.
the wife of his youth. Verse 16, for the Lord, the God of Israel, said that he hateth
Mm-hmm.
putting away. For one covered violence with his garment, said the Lord of hosts. Therefore, take heed to your spirit, that ye deal not treacherously.
Right. So that God that when it says covers violence with his garment, garment represents the wife. And you're hiding how you're mistreating your wife. Basically what that's talking about. So people I've heard people talk about, verse 16, God hate divorce. And I totally agree. I mean, that's what it says. He hate divorce. But I want to use this to show this another example of the hardness of men's heart. So what was happening here, to put this in context, right? This is dealing specifically with uh read verse 1 right there. Who is this talking about?
And now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you.
So this is the prophet, right, talking to the priest of Judah, of Israel, and because the priests were supposed to, if nobody else is going to do the right thing, the priests are supposed to hold it down. Now they didn't went way off, and so they're offering, they're doing all kind of idolatry and idolatrous thing, worshiping all these mixing these different worship they got from these other nations with the Most High's worship, and now they're leaving their wives because, well, I'm gonna get I want to I want to jump ahead of myself, but they're leaving their wives and they're taking, when it says and they're taking women that are from other nations that worship other gods, right? And it says against whom thou have dealt treacherously, yet is she thy companion, thy wife, thy covenant. And let's see, and did not he make one spirit that say take the heed, wife of your youth? What is that? Is it here? Okay, yeah. Verse 11 says, Judah have dealt treacherously, and an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem. Well, and this is after the split. So Israel went off. The 10 tribes that split off went off, and then now Judah is going way. They doing worse than Israel. It says, "For Judah have profaned the holiness of the Lord, which he loved, and have married the daughter of a strange god." So they were dealing with women that were dealing with worshiping other gods, which the Most High specifically said not to. Now this is even so. This scriptures, these verses are dealing with the priest of Israel. The priests were under a very strict set of laws. We'll get that real quick. Leviticus 21, 10 through 15. We're going to get that real quick just to put this in perspective. Leviticus 21, read starting at verse 10 down to verse 15, if you would.
So this is Leviticus 21, starting at verse 10. And
Mm-hmm.
he that is the high priest among his brethren, upon whose head is the anointing oil, was poured, and that is consecrated to put on the garment, shall not uncover his head, nor rend his clothes. Verse 11, neither shall he go in to any dead body, nor defile himself for his father or for his mother. Neither shall he go out of the sanctuary, nor profane the sanctuary of his God. For the crown of the anointing oil of his God is upon him. I am the Lord. Verse 13, and he shall take a wife in her virginity, a widow, or a divorced woman, or profane, or an harlot, these shall he not take, but he shall take a virgin of his own people to wife.
All right. So it's very, very
Verse
specific.
15,
Yeah, read verse 15.
verse 15, neither shall he profane his seed among his people, for I, the Lord, do sanctify him.
Yeah. So profaning his seed, meaning having children with something other than the virgin of his own people. Right. And so they were given very specific instructions not to deal with a woman that wasn't of their own nation and a woman that wasn't a virgin. So that Malachi 2 is dealing. They started doing all those things. So it's dealing specifically with that. And the Most High says he hate divorce because, and this is the hardness of man's heart. An example of what was why that law was there, because this is what people would start doing. That's why he put that law, because the Most High knew this is what they was going to start doing, mistreating these women, dealing treacherously with the wife of your youth. So the wife of your youth, meaning the woman you married when you was young. Now you're getting older and you don't want this woman, you mistreating her. They said, I mean, say dealing treacherously with them, but then you go and deal with these other women. I don't want this one. I want,
Mhm.
and they not supposed to be marrying women outside of their nation, let alone women that's not virgins, that's not untouched, and they doing all this, talking about they priest. So, and when the Most High say he hated divorce, he hates divorce because when he put two people together, they twain become one flesh. You treat this woman like you treat yourself, because and this goes back to understanding the culture of our people back then, what marriage was. A woman didn't. There was no independent women. There was no, get no job and establishing all that. No. She went from her father to her husband. This man was her livelihood. She reared up the children. Like the scripture say, let a woman be saved in childbearing I forgot it now. It came to my mind and part of it left. But
No, you talking about the verse in the New Testament talks
yeah,
about the woman being saved and childbearing and taking care of the house.
yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is what it was. So um for a man to marry a woman and not be a husband to her, which means provide, protect, lead, procreate, for a man not to do those things, that was cold blooded, man. Because you done took this woman from her father. She's totally dependent on you for these things, and now you don't, because whatever reason you come up with, now it's a problem, and you don't want to do those things for this woman, bro. That's messed up. And so this is why it was such a problem. That's why most times you dealing treacherously, because these women depend. This woman depending on you, and because she's older, because she gained weight, because she this, because she that. Now you gonna just leave her to the side to fend for herself. Now she's out here like a, what I'm saying, like a harlot trying to fend for herself, when that's your job to be doing that. So this is the hardest of men's heart. So rather than
Yeah.
you sit there and just mistreat this woman because you stuck with her forever, right? Or because you found a problem with her, right? She got some kind of issue. She unclean for whatever reason. Even if you got a legitimate reason, don't just leave the woman stranded. And now she's stuck and can't get married no more. Give the woman a bill of divorcement and let another man that's willing to take this woman and provide for her and protect her and do this. Let that man marry that woman and take care of that woman. Rather than you saying, well, I married her. She can't be. No, I'm stuck with her. I can't divorce her. I'm just gonna leave her over here to die alone and go get me another wife and live my life over here, and then I just forget about her. Nah, that's cruel. Give her,
That's what Christ say
yeah,
not
make
to
her,
do,
yeah, make her free,
putting that one away and getting another one.
right? And so but in all actuality, the uncleanliness was when a woman was dealing in sin, adultery, witchcraft, sorcery.
Bestiality,
Yeah, and what they
witchcraft.
did, they took the uncleanliness and started using it to as any reason. And that's why they asked the question: Can you get divorced for any reason? Because uncle, she she don't bathe every day. I want a divorce. Her feet stink. I want a divorce. You know what I'm saying? She don't clean like she want to. She unclean. It's unclean. I want a divorce. Here, I don't want to be with you no more. And so they was abusing that. And that's when they come to Christ asking him to see if he gonna, yeah, you can abuse that. No. It wasn't in the beginning, it wasn't so. It wasn't meant for you to divorce your wife. That's not what marriage is about. You don't get married to divorce. God make you one person, one flesh. You depend on her, she depending on you. And
That
it,
verse
yeah,
that you read, it goes hand in hand with what we read. Like you asked that question, why do you think the disciples asked that question?
yeah, yeah.
And Malachi kind of shows that it was a thing, at least for a time where people were divorcing, their wives and getting married to women of a different nation and stuff like that. So we can imagine, because Malachi wasn't that too far off from New Testament time. I'm sure it was some time, but yeah, that culture was passed down. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That way of living was passed down. That way of thinking and acting out certain things, because that's why Christ came in the first place, to kind
Right.
of bring restoration and correction to the things that were, being misinterpreted and abused at that time. You get what I'm saying?
100%.
So,
And so I want to hit this verse right quick because we talk about the Most High hated divorce, right? And Christ said you can, except for this reason. So let's read Jeremiah 3:8.
this is Jeremiah 3 and 8, and it says, and I saw, and for all the causes whereby black backsliding Israel committed adultery, I have put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also.
So Israel started worshiping idols. So now they're
Yeah.
committing spiritual fornication, and the Most High referred to that as adultery. So seeing fornication or adultery is a form of fornication. These two are connected, right? So they committed adultery. So he said, I put her away. I divorced her and I gave her a bill of divorcement. So the Most High says he hates divorce. Yet there's a provision here for when your spouse, your wife commits adultery, you can put her away. And this is what Christ said, saving for fornication, except for fornication. Now she fornicating, you can put her away. Right. And the Most High put Israel away for fornication. And he's like, now Judah is doing even worse. So if I divorce
Mm.
Israel, what do you think I'm gonna do with you? Now praise the Most High, he took us back. He made a way for us to come back through Christ, right? He found a way to work it to where we can come back into the fold and take our rightful place in the order that he established. But the Most High said he divorced Israel. He put her away and gave her a bill of divorcement. So I know the Most High hate divorce, but it's clear that is uh um this is how the Most High operates because this is him operating within his own law. Let me see. Is there anything else? You said something, man. There was another scripture I wanted to get to. But I can't remember. But that's essentially I know I want to cap it off with. That's essentially the lesson. But let's cap it off with this, right? Just to put things in the correct perspective. Let's go with the old bread. Let's go with the old bread and butter. Matthew 5, and we're gonna read verses 17 um through 20.
This is Matthew 5 and 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I have not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
All right, stop.
Ver-
Think not that I've come to destroy the law, Moses or the prophets. We read it earlier in Luke, right? He said Moses and the prophets, the law and the prophets. Moses is the law with the first five books of the Bible, right? Genesis through Deuteronomy. This is the law. This is the books of Moses that's written by Moses. These are the books of the laws that was given to Moses in Sinai, right? In the wilderness. So that's what it's talking about. Think not that I come to destroy. So Christ didn't come to destroy the law. He didn't come to destroy what was written in or what we call the Old Testament, the Torah, or the prophets, the Tanakh, or the quote unquote Old Testament. I didn't come to destroy the Old Testament. I come not to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, heaven is still here. The sky is still above us. The stars are still in the skies at night. Earth is still here. I'm standing on it, sleeping on it, walking on it. One jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. People say, well, Jesus came and fulfilled it. There's a lot of prophecy that haven't been fulfilled yet. You don't fulfill the law, you practice the law, you keep the law, you fulfill the prophecies. You fulfill the prophecies. He said, and then verse 19 says, whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. This is what Christ said. He wanted to
Mm.
make it clear. I didn't come to destroy the law. I didn't come to destroy what Moses brought, what Moses taught the people according to the Most High, which I was there. Before Abraham was, I am, is what Christ said. I didn't come to undo all that. I came to fulfill. You don't fulfill the law, you keep the law, you fulfill the prophecies. People say, well, Jesus fulfilled the law. How do you fulfill the law? You keep the law, you fulfill the prophets, right? Let's get this right quick. See if I can call this one up. I remember this. I believe it's Acts 3 and 18. Be right, be right, be right. All right, yeah. Read that right quick, see, brother. Acts 3 and 18.
Acts 3 and 18. But those things which God before had showed by the mouth of all his prophets that Christ should suffer, he hath so fulfilled.
Right. So when Christ says, I come not to destroy, but to fulfill, what did he fulfill? He fulfilled what the prophet said that he would suffer. He didn't come and fulfill the law so we don't have to do it. He didn't come and fulfill the law so we don't have to keep it. Christ kept the Sabbath, right? He followed the dietary law. He kept the law. They tried to accuse him of not keeping the law. They tried to accuse him of not doing this and not doing that, but they couldn't. If they could justify, they would have stoned him and killed him right on the spot. Right?
Mhm.
They just had kind of had to they just had to force the system and say, well, look, man, give us
He
Barabbas
blasphemed.
and just kill him. They just had to make something up. But you couldn't find nowhere where he transgressed the law. Period,
Yeah.
point blank. So the law. So we talk about divorce. According to the scripture, divorce is lawful for one reason, and that's for your spouse committing fornication. And um, other than that, there's no justification for it. So we went the long way around, but I wanted to really go through that to put things in perspective and understand that the law of Moses is God's law. It's entitled the law of Moses. It's referred to as the law of Moses, but it came from the most high. And I it's popped in my head. I'll give you one more example that just popped in my head here in Acts 5, and I believe it's 21. Yeah, all right. So let me get this right quick. It says I said no, let me see. So this is when uh Paul and the apostles had a meeting about what they were going to teach the Gentiles, and James and the elders, prayed and said it was good. The Holy Spirit told them, listen, we're going to just tell them to abstain from pollutions of idols, from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. Right, and it is verse 21 says, "For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him." Being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. What was being
Mm.
read, Brother Corey? What were they reading in the synagogues every Sabbath day?
Yeah, that was the law, man.
They was reading the law. So when it says Moses of old time, what we call the Old Testament, the law, was being read in synagogues every Sabbath. So we're going to go to the Gentiles and tell them to abstain from pollutions of idols, fornication, things strangled, and from blood. And the rest of the law they'll get on the synagogues on Sabbath. So seeing how Moses is synonymous with the law, and sometimes instead of saying the law, they would say Moses, because that's where that came from. So I just wanted to put that in perspective. Yeah, man, that's pretty much it right there. I hope that this, help, especially to the brother I had the conversation with, and a couple of brothers I had this conversation with. They kind of was drawing the same conclusion that, you know, Christ was undoing what Moses had did, or saying something different than was what Moses had said. It wasn't that, right? And this wasn't Moses's law. I keep going. All right, see, I'm because I mentioned this scripture earlier, and I want to go kind of, since we're here, I want to go ahead and get it. Let's go to First Corinthians, showing that Christ was there during that time. First Corinthians 10. I'll just start from verse 1 here. It says, moreover, brethren, this is Paul speaking. I would not that ye should be ignorant how that all our fathers meaning Abraham, Moses, in this particular place, talking about the children of Israel, were under the cloud. That's that cloud we read about in Exodus that was leading the children of Israel by day and a pillar of fire by night. And all passed through the sea. When the Most High split the sea, they all walked across. And it says, and were baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. Baptized meaning covered. They were covered by Moses, by following Moses through the sea and this cloud that Moses communicated with the Most High through, right? And it says all did eat the same spiritual meat, which was meat, not meaning flesh, but meat, that manna that came from heaven that fed the children of Israel. Meat doesn't mean flesh, it means food. And it says all did drink, and did all drink the same spiritual drink. What spiritual drink? For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. And that rock was Christ. Build your house upon the rock. Christ was that spiritual rock that they drank from that brought forth water. Okay. So, am I sharing my screen?
Oh no, you're not. But we got it though.
Yeah, I'm sitting there going along with everything, thinking I'm sharing, and I look, I'm like, I'm not sharing my screen. But that's First Corinthians 10,
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3, right? First Corinthians 10, verse chapters 1, 2, and 3. So I mentioned that verse earlier. Now, and there was a lot more information about the what happened in Sinai and the how long it took and the dates and everything. If y'all want that information, put it in the comments, let me know, and I can, we can kind of go back, or I can just drop the verses in there. But it made the point. I didn't want to, I wanted to, but try. I know we've been going for a long enough time, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn it over to you, brother Corey. I know it seemed like you got some points and some things that you might want to get into right quick
Yeah,
about
man.
this
I would
lesson.
just say a few things. Regarding like the law aspect, one of the thoughts that came to mind as you was reading it, it's like, man, this process of not just getting the law took some time, but teaching them the law. If you look at the situation, it was kind of like they got the law and then they had like a 40-year period of practicing before he sent them into the land. Because like, look, when we get in this land, y'all got to be on it, because if you don't, it's gonna spit you out. You get what I'm saying? So, that whole aspect of, one generation having to be removed out and then the other generation having to be, give like reinforced with it. Okay, y'all was young when this happened, but y'all saw some of these miracles.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So y'all know what the Most High did, who He is, what He can do, and for this cause, y'all know, okay, it's in y'all best interest to keep
Mm-hmm.
these commandments, so y'all can keep this land that He's giving you. He's gonna bring y'all into. Y'all haven't seen this land yet, but when y'all get there, y'all gonna want to stay there, and this is how you do it. He gave them the keys first.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
And gave him
And then
instructions.
showed them how to, maintain the house before he gave it to them. It's kind of like taking them around the block and doing a test drive
Mm.
and saying, okay, look, when you're ready to pull out the driveway, put the car in gear, put your brake down, turn on your lights, make sure your signal's working, and make sure you do this every time that you get in this car. Don't start driving without the seatbelt and without the lights on and uh closing your eyes, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm using modern terms, but
Right,
essentially what I'm
right.
saying is, the Most High, He gave us these laws and we went into the land, and of course, you know what happened. We got out of line, started
Yeah.
doing things our way,
Which was
and then
prophesied. The Most High, remember the Most High. These are things the Most High was revealing to Moses when he was in the on the mountain for 40 days.
Right.
And Moses told him in Deuteronomy, he said, listen, when y'all go into the land, you get established and everything's going good, then y'all gonna go off.
Right. Y'all gonna forget. Take heed lest you forget when you what he say? When you shall have eaten and be full.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
When their belly's
That's
fat.
yeah, people got started eating, they got full, man. They got animals, they got land, they got wives, children, you got everything you can imagine. And next thing oh, forget God. You forgot where you're,
That's us today.
yeah,
It was like when things going good, we ain't got time for the
yeah.
most high. So
It's
when
even
things
worse
hit the
today.
fan, oh Lord help me.
It's even worse today, man, because we don't even look at God no more. We look at the people above us and say, well, this person is supplying my needs. So what I need to
Mm,
worry about God for? Like people haven't even practiced leaning on God yet. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Which is a scary thing. And then the second thing I wanted to mention, man, Matthew, uh, this is a different conversation itself. This is something, we probably have a podcast on in the future. That aspect in the New Testament where Christ talked about the adultery or fornication, because I want to quantify that to just adultery.
Yeah.
That's a very big thing, man, because you asked a question, you was like, why do you think this is the way it is and why you asked this particular question? And I never thought to answer that question until you asked it, and then I had to give it some thought.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm answering, I'm like, wow, this had to have been something that was prevalent back then because, you know, why would the disciples turn around and say, well, man, it must not even be good to marry? You know what I'm saying? Unless the land was filled with men and women that hadn't been divorced,
Yeah.
men divorcing their husband, their wives. And then, the case with the woman, we didn't get that scripture, but it was a woman that Christ encountered at the well. And he was like, the man you're with now is not your husband, and
Hmm.
you've been married this amount of times. Da, 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 da,
Yeah, that's
da.
a good point.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm
he said
saying? So,
you got five men and none of them your husband. You know what I'm saying? You got five
yeah,
men and the one you with ain't is not your
you know
husband.
what I'm saying? So he basically, it was women. There were women walking around that were like that, and there were men walking around that were illegitimately married to
Mm-hmm.
women because they didn't put their wife away because of something she did wrong. So I brought that up to say, man, in this current society that we're in, I know there are a lot of believers out there, and I'm not telling nobody what to do. I'm just putting a thought, something to pray on or fast on, is that there are a lot of people that may be in situations or marriages and not understanding what's what or why things ain't working, not understanding that this person might have been married, you know what I'm saying, and put somebody away, or this woman and left this man and did that and the third, and adultery is being spread. I don't know if y'all remember another verse that came to mind when you asked that question, Rye, was where Christ said, this is an adulterous generation. You get what I'm saying? I thought
Mm.
about that. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Not just
Yeah.
on physical level, but a spiritual level. And today we see that a lot. You know what I'm saying? Um, the value of being pure and things of that nature has been diminished. In fact, it's the
Greatly.
opposite now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, John, what's that, 4:18?
Yeah, John 4:18.
It says,
For
for
thou
thou hast, go ahead, you about
yeah,
to
for
read that
thou
for me?
hast had five husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. In that thou
Yeah.
said truth.
Christ is petty,
Yeah.
man. If y'all know, if y'all read the verse before, it said, uh Christ said, Jesus said unto her, go call thy husband and come hither. And the woman answered, say, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, thou hast
Y'all
well
had said,
said,
yeah,
I have no husband.
yeah, you
And then he
sure right.
explained why he said
Yeah, you
that.
sure right, because you done had five husbands, and the one
Yeah.
you with now ain't your husband.
You know what I'm saying? So this woman was,
So this was clearly something that was being practiced. This was clearly,
right.
I mean, no different than today. I mean, we look at it through a different
Exactly.
lens, but it's the same way today. Everybody sleeping with everybody, all this stuff, fornication going on.
Right.
It ain't nothing new under the sun. And they weren't supposed to be living
Right.
like that. And so Christ was coming with a
Right.
whole nother standard and putting things in the proper perspective.
Right. So, like in the case of like the situation with the disciples and where he said what he said, that's something to go back and dwell on, and just consider like we live in a generation where this stuff is being taught to not just us, but our children. It's okay to go do this and do that and da, 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 Um,
Go out, live your best life,
marriage is
experience, get your experiences and all this stuff, man.
marriage is very important, man. So when you make that decision to get married, that's a lifelong commitment. I know society teaches that if you're unhappy, you can get a divorce and get
Can,
alimony.
can you
Men and
divorce for
women
any
do it.
reason? Can you divorce for
Yeah.
any reason? It's the
And
same thing.
society say yes.
Hmm.
Exactly. Society has given us the green light, but God hasn't. So don't fall into those traps, man. There are people getting married for money and divorcing for money. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of things going on. So
Yeah, nah, we were talking earlier,
these were
man.
some,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
You
I
about
ain't
to
gonna say
say
something.
something?
No, I was gonna bring
I
up
was gonna
something you had
say,
mentioned earlier, but go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's just that these things which the Pharisees brought up, these are things that are prevalent today. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So for us to sit here and read it, it's like, man, we need to be looking at this stuff. Because don't nobody want to be in adulterous. Some people are in adulterous marriages and unions unknowingly, you know what I'm saying? And then there are people that are doing this on purpose. They're divorcing their wives or divorcing their husband, whatever, or leaving unjustly. And they know what they're doing wrong. And then they going out there and getting an innocent person involved. Because people always forget about that last part. Like, if you put this woman away wrong, she go get with another man, that man is now in adultery. She's in adultery, but that
Right.
man who had nothing to do with that, now he's in adultery. And then when you go get with somebody else, they're in adultery. So that's two people that's getting pulled into that shouldn't have even been,
Right.
involved in that situation. You get what I'm saying? So that was what I wanted to add. You about to say something?
No, I was man, you said we was talking earlier today about it, and you was I got cut up listening to what you were saying. You had you talked about marriage and how society, Western culture through government is actively
Oh, yeah, yeah,
uh
yeah. Like
um
they're intentionally
making marriage
discouraging
yeah.
people to be married. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Men and
because
women.
in today's era there's really no reason for a man to marry a woman,
Right,
to marry her. Like, you know what I'm saying? And women in many ways don't need a man
right.
as a husband, need men in general, but as a husband. And this is the issue. Like this is how they're pitting us against each other, how they're breaking down the nuclear family, the household,
Yeah.
to the point where,
Man,
it's like I seen a dude ask the question, what can a man today get from a wife that he can't get from a girlfriend? Now
that's a
y'all heard that
crazy question
question.
to ask, but
Think about that, and then the answer. Think about the answer to that question, and then understand the detriment of society today.
you
The answer to that
know,
question shows you how society has denigrated, or to what level
yeah,
society
yeah.
has denigrated to. That's crazy.
To add to that, it's crazy because when you think about the one way you break down civilization is the family. Because if you talk about, for example, a body, the basic, part of the body is the cell. You could
Mm,
destroy single cells or destroy droves of cells at once, then you destroy the whole body. Like, for example, radiation. One of the things with radiation treatment, allegedly, is that sometimes it can have a certain effect on good and bad cells. So if you talk about
mm-hmm.
society, um, there are this way of thinking and way of dealing with marriages and stuff today. It's destroyed the way people, generations, the past two, maybe three generations, view marriage, and it's made it to whereby marriage is not something that people look forward to.
Yeah,
And for a man, for example, when you look into marriage, it's like, okay, if I go into this marriage, and there are examples of this, you're faithful, taking care of woman, children, whatever. The woman steps out and get divorced, you could lose half everything, custody of your children, get left with nothing. So that's one side. And then the woman, society is teaching her, if you're unhappy, he's not making you happy in that marriage, then leave. There's somebody out there better for you. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
when
it's
when
incentive,
you leave, don't forget to take your half of his stuff.
right? Take your half of his stuff. When you first got together, you were complaining about, a man shouldn't do half. I mean, it shouldn't be 50-50. But then all of a sudden, when you leave, society saying, well, you're entitled to half, which, you do in a situation where woman has the children as a man, you should want your
Yeah, I
children to be
mean,
taken care of.
right.
But at the same time, it's gotten to a point now where there are content creators and influencers out there teaching women, uh, yeah, just get with the guy and get what you can get out of it and move on. You know what I'm saying? These guys aren't loyal. They're not there. So women are being incentivized to leave and men are being discouraged from marrying. So, whereas God made man and woman to be
Become
attracted to
one.
each other and
Yeah.
want to come together, now society has created this environment where they're like being pulled apart. So now what do you see? You see families not staying together. This uh by default creates adultery or fornication, which Christ talked about, because people are leaving marriages unjustly and going to getting other people. You know what I'm saying? Because if you leave, the only option is to stay by yourself. You know, that's it. And then we're seeing children being brought up in single mother households or being put into child services. Um, we're seeing the type of men and women that grow up without their mothers and fathers.
Mm.
So the society is being broken down on so many levels. You got adultery rampant. You got fatherless and motherless children growing up, and these are unnatural children. I'm not saying this in a bad way to speak down, but it takes two people to make a child.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an unnatural thing for a child to be raised by one parent because it didn't take one to make the child. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So this environment is not good. So what happens when these children grow up? A lot of them are, I wouldn't say misguided, they're unguided.
Mm-hmm.
So they repeat the cycle. You get what I'm saying?
Right,
So when
right.
we talk about this society today and how marriage is being, the institution of marriage is being destroyed, understand that we're not just talking about marriage, we're talking about civilization because marriage is like the foundation of civilization. The first commandment man got was to be fruitful and multiply.
Mm.
The first thing man got from God outside of the things that God created to sustain life was a woman that he created from his rib. So if y'all can we can't be married and together and prosper, then that's it. That's the end of civilization. And it's gradual.
Right.
It's gradual.
The what they call the frog in the pot.
Right, right. The
Yeah.
heat is being turned up. And the last thing I would say to this is that this is the sad part, man, because this didn't start in this century. It kind of started in slavery because in slavery, you know, the dependency, like the purpose of a man or husband and woman's life is provision, protection, spiritual guidance, all those things that the Most High put a man here for. The Most High put man on earth to reign, have dominion. He put the wife there to be a helpmate, and the man's supposed to provide, protect, take care of the woman, take care of his children, etc. But when we went through, slavery, quote unquote, there was something that came between man and woman. The dependency upon man was taken away. You don't need him anymore. You need me.
Well, let me put a little white out on that.
Yeah,
Because it's I realize it's not that slavery or these situations taught women they don't need man. They don't need a husband. They don't have to depend on a husband. You see
yeah.
what I'm
That
saying? Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Because women, everybody's still depending on men and people to do different things.
right,
But this idea that I don't need a husband, I don't
right.
need a man to share my life with. I don't need a man to provide, protect for me, to guide me, to lead me.
They
I
only need
need,
him for conjugal
yeah, I need a
stuff. You know what I'm saying?
partner. I want a
Oh
partner.
yeah, that's a
You
new
know,
term.
this is crazy. This is, but this is what it is. So when that, like you're saying, when that happens, then this is the breakdown of the family. You break down the
Right,
family, you tear down the community, the neighborhood, the community, the nation.
right. Essentially, what has happened is the corporations have taken the place of the husband, if you will. So when you talk about dedication, and listen, this is not to say that I want people to hear me out when I say this. Hear me all the way through this, because this is a point that you might want to hear.
Mm,
When you talk about when I say the corporation has replaced the husband, I just said provision, providing. The corporation is what gives a woman a way to provide, or provides for the woman, can give her position, status, money. Then you got protection, which
mm,
we have from that, which is also a corporate thing, because we have entities like the police. So, for example, um, a man and a woman, or a husband and a wife, can be in a dispute that's not even serious, but one party can pick up a phone and make a phone call, and then all of a sudden, somebody that has no jurisdiction over your household, you don't even know, a stranger, can show up to your house and pull you out
mm-hmm.
under false pretenses. So like the protection aspect is out of the window, because
She don't need a
there's a
husband for
card in
that,
her pocket.
right?
She can call that. You said what? Oh, you gonna take what away from me, huh? And call that, press those three numbers, and before you know it, you out of your house, and you sitting in the cell. So like the protection aspect, it's unnecessary. Provision aspect, unnecessary. Spiritual guidance. I mean, we got mega churches and stuff today, and all sorts of people out there teaching sorts of
Mm,
things and
yeah.
telling people whatever, trying to lord over people's household, lord over a man's household that's married, when man is supposed to be the one in that role. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, to that point, I think 80% of churches are women.
Now, dang, that's an angle I ain't even think to bring in. And then the last aspect of it, um, the children. The children get sent off to school and to daycare. So that frees the woman up to be able to be in a corporate setting whereby she doesn't have to take direct commands from a man per se. But when it all boils down to it, there's usually a man that owns the corporation. So you do need a man. And why did I go back to slavery to bring all of this up to modern times? Slave plantations were the first corporations. They just morphed. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of these plantations turned into oil companies and uh, all sorts of other businesses that generate billions of dollars every year now. So the plantation still exists. So all I'm trying to make, the point I'm trying to make here is that um, this is not something per se that is as widespread on a global scale, although divorce is something that you would see everywhere. But in a Western society, for example, um, this aspect of, oh, I don't need a man, or this, that, and the third, feminism, is prevalent because corporations and institutions have made it possible, have given the capability and funded movements to push this ideology, excuse me. So yeah, it's a what do I want to say? This is a false reality that people are living under.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If a woman thinks you don't need a man, or a man thinks you don't need a woman, that's a false reality. You know what I'm saying? We need each other for different reasons, but we still need each other. You get what I'm saying? So um that point that you brought up about men and women being the institution of marriage being brought up, yes, that is definitely something I want to touch on, because it's not talked about enough. And I strongly feel that that single thing is what's destroying society right now. When marriage has been completely, uh, the idea of it has been made completely detestable and sick to think of, to the point where people don't even want to, talk about it anymore. You know, it's over. I know men that have been in situations and say I'll never do it again. And there are
Mm.
women too. You know, this is a two-sided thing, but I did want to bring that up because it looked like the it looked like the disciples was talking about some stuff that we might hear on the podcast on some of these podcasts today. Well, if this is the case, then you know maybe it's not good for a man to marry. And this that sound that when I heard
Yeah,
that, I'm like, that sound like something we hear. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
People
these
talk about
conversations
today.
now, right?
Yeah, and that's scary to think about because divorce is high. The divorce rates are high today. So much it was high back then, in that particular land at that particular time. So
Yeah, and I'm
yeah.
looking at this. I'm looking at this stat right here, man. It says, according to Kathy Grossman of USA Today, women outnumber men in attendance in every major Christian denomination, and they are
Mm,
20%, 20 to 25% more likely to attend worship at least weekly. And this
wow.
is that was 2001 U.S. Congregational Life Survey reinforces this
Mm,
data. This survey revealed that an average American congregation is roughly 61% female, 39% male.
wow.
You know,
Six, dang, 60 some percent. So that makes a lot of sense. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. This just gonna say this so we don't get into another topic. Uh Believe it or not, that is another big issue in households.
what's
Certain
the
people like the struggle between, okay, and you can speak firsthand of this, we can speak on some stuff without saying no names or nothing like that,
okay?
of instances in which there are two people that are believers. They might be a part of a certain church or whatever. And then you got people within that church intervening in their household
Oh yeah.
and telling, the woman, oh, you don't have to do this, or you don't have to do that, or you can't do this to this, or you
Well,
can't do that.
that goes back
And
to see, because now I'm gonna rub somebody the wrong way, but you know, that goes back to let the woman learn at home from her husband. If she
right,
learn anything, let her learn at home from her husband, and that's a real thing because we see now how that if when that doesn't happen, the problems it comes in because as a man, you're not going to come in here and tell me about what Pastor so and so said.
right.
Reverend, I love money. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Pastor, do me right. No, I don't want to hear nothing about what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So and that's a problem when couples marry or spouses uh are having these disagreements because the wife is arguing with her husband about what the pastor said. You
right.
know,
And the
we
pastor,
we not celebrating Christmas in my house. Well, I asked the pastor, he said blah 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 blah. I don't care what the pastor said. This is my house. And then what happened? This is her exercising authority. Well, I'm gonna do what the pastor say in the Bible and God. Listen, woman, the scriptures say obey your husband. Learn at home from your
wow.
husband. Don't go learn from no other people because that's how the confusion starts. You
You
know.
you man, when you said that, it just kind of brought everything full circle for me. Our women are definitely under like a spirit a major attack because there's so much confusion. Like the scriptures say one thing regarding the husband, submit to your husband. But
Mm-hmm.
then society and the husband is supposed to be that man that provides, protect, he
Yeah.
guides you in the spiritual walk. But now you got a pastor, so that's you're submitted to him spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Then you
Ooh.
got a boss at work, you submitted to him. But then you got uh you got guys at your university,
The
you submitted to
teachers.
them. They
Yeah.
and then you come home and this man is trying to get you to submit to him, your husband,
He the
and
one man you're
you
not
didn't
gonna submit
submit.
to.
You tired of submitting all day long. You didn't submit it to the boss, the pastor, and everybody else that has come, the police officer, everybody else that then came into your
Mm.
uh, you know, vicinity throughout the day. And then you get home, and because this man is there, you can touch him, you can look at him eye to eye, and he's there every day. You take for granted what position God has put him in your life, and you don't even see him as that anymore. So subconsciously, And the scripture talk about being not being able to serve two masters. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a real thing. Like you can't when you
Hey,
give
you can't
out
serve
that
two
power,
masters.
right? You give out that power to these particular institutions or individuals and then expect to give that to your husband as well. You can't. You hear what I'm saying? You're gonna love one and hate the other. That's what they say. And
Oh well.
today in society, that's what we see. We see, oh well, I got this career and I gotta be there 8 hours a day. When I come home, I don't feel like doing this, or I don't want to be told what to do no more after this time point. I'm a boss at work. What do I look like coming home to this person and letting them, you know what I'm saying? Or Pastor such and such said this.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So that submission thing is real, you know what I'm saying? And it's to your husband. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, man. But like you
Yeah.
said, we can go on and on about this
Yeah.
because we gonna start ruffling some feathers, man. We probably had some people with us now. They like, oh, gee, there they go. But it's just where it goes, man. So, yeah, I really appreciate this conversation, man. I really hope that the scriptures that we went into bring some clarification on divorce, on the law of Moses, put things in proper perspectives. And I urge brothers and sisters to go back and read the scriptures. Go back and read Exodus, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, Numbers,
Yep.
even Genesis. Go back and
Read
read this
that.
with the understanding that the law is of the Most High. You know, man, it's still a few more scriptures I didn't hit, but I'm like, I ain't gonna go back. But yeah, man. So I just really hope that this was edifying to the listeners, and most High willing, it'll help us all to glorify God. So you got
Right.
closing thoughts?
No, man, that was it, man. I just, my thing is let's start, going back and studying, like you said, looking at the law, looking at what's pleasing unto the Most High. And I know we're in some trying times and things may be difficult for families, individuals, even children, elders. Um, but that word is our safe haven, man. And that's the one place we can go to and get that reset, get ourselves like put back in the right mindset. And we definitely got to be big on making sure this generation is coming up, they get this word because the stuff that society's come with today is crazy, man. It makes the stuff that you read in the Bible look foreign. Like you go compare what society's teaching to what the word says, it's like night and day. So yeah, man. Praise the Most High for this lesson and conversation, man. And most high willing, we get to look into some other things that are related and unrelated to this. You know what I'm saying?
Right on, right on. Well, this has been a wee big Bible studies with Ryan Corey, your favorite Bible buddies. Peace and blessing, y'all. We'll see y'all next time.